Our closing keynote is going to be from Dan Drogman, who is the CEO and founder of Smart Spaces. He's an entrepreneur, and some of the words used to define him are tenacity and vision. And having delivered a pioneer technology mastered over 12 years that now is a crucial operating system for landlords, asset managers, and occupiers. So Smart Spaces now powers 60 million square feet of global real estate, 20 million square feet of which is located in London. And the London-based user experience and software development team has 40 members of staff, just to show you how that they're creating these solutions for some of the industry-leading real estate clients. I'd like to bring up Dan to the stage. Dan, please join us.
Yeah, you too, yeah. Hi, everyone. Just hoping my slides are going to come up on here. There we go. So my presentation is called Empowering the People, and what we do at Smart Spaces is we like to think we leverage technology to improve existing user experiences. So that could be your access experience, that could be your experience of the climate within your space, and also booking and to doing general tasks within the office. So I founded the business 10 years ago now, actually 12 years ago, sorry, in 2010. And I started out actually as a software engineer, so I worked on a number of different projects. I built Marriott's hotel and conferencing booking engine. I also built the OES Marketplace, which is the Office Agent Society, so it's a transactional system for the letting of property in London. And then come to Smart Spaces, and Smart Spaces was born out of the work we did at Marriott. So Marriott had much aspirations around smart buildings, and whilst there, we worked with iBeacon technology and really started to formulate what we thought would be a killer product for the commercial office market. So Smart Spaces, it wasn't that long ago when we first done our first smart building project where we got a Smart Score Platinum rating. This rating was really hard to achieve, and because we was part of the criteria for marking the Smart Score, so we actually worked with Smart Score to help with the evidence submission. And what we did there was ask for video submissions for evidence. So what that meant was we actually showed the tangible user experience within one of our buildings, and that helped differentiate us in the market. And so everything we've achieved in terms of the Smart Score Platinum ratings has had video evidence, and I'm going to show you some of that today. So we've got some amazing clients at Smart Spaces. We're really proud of the clients we work with, and some even more amazing properties around the world. We provide our smart building technology to 22 Bishopsgate. We've recently completed the University of Birmingham's Dubai campus and are about to roll out at Edgbaston. And we also created the flexible office app for Brookfield Properties, plus a number of other clients, including GPE, where we're rolled out across 70 buildings. Now, working on 70 buildings means there's a lot of retrofit, and so I'll talk a little bit about how we've done some new builds like 22 Bishopsgate, but also worked on a lot of retrospective and upgrades. This is a short video, it just sort of encapsulates our day-to-day user experience of Smart Spaces. a bad day in the office, actually. So smart spaces, with our product, when we first started, we started with very basic functionality and really sort of listened to the client and expanded that functionality over time. Now, back in 2008, I built my first intranet for a business park called High Park Hayes. And we had some great aspirations of all these services we were going to wrap up into a web platform. And, it was a 2-year project. We invested a lot of the client's money. And I was really embarrassed to say that after building that, we had no users. We literally would go into the analytics, and the only people using it would be our own staff. We were incredibly disappointed by this. And so after that, obviously, we went off to build the Marriott system and a whole host of other systems. And when we got back to develop smart spaces, the one thing we wanted to do different this time is obviously get users and engagement. And the way we've done that is that we focused on tangible systems that need to be able to be used every day. So that could be room booking, desk booking, accessing your space. The community is always a key piece, and that's sort of the glue that keeps everything hanging together, but it was the tangible transactional elements is what was the secret to our success, and that's just really expanded over time. The other thing we've done is we've not been precious about owning the whole user experience or having every system a smart spaces product. For instance, we can work with third-party desk booking systems, we can work with third-party sensor systems, and no two clients will have the same stack. Some will come with their own CAFM, some will use our support ticketing function, some will use our desk booking, others will use other desk booking platforms as well. So by not being precious, it means we get to work with the best in market, and really the value that we're applying is the user experience. So we want to have a killer user experience for our customers. And over time, this has expanded out to this complete functionality suite. Smart buildings integration, obviously we've seen lots of siloed slides like this, and it's quite funny actually when I didn't put my hand up when someone said whether I classed myself as an MSI, and I suppose we are by default, but when we started this journey like 12 years ago, there wasn't any MSIs, and so we sort of had to do all this groundwork ourselves. And the thing we noticed straight away was that lots of these siloed systems would sit on their own networks, and so we designed our software that it could work with siloed networks, so it didn't need to actually have a converged network like we see in a lot of buildings now. And what's been nice for smart spaces is over the last few years, where we've now get to work with a converged network system, and we get MQTT, and we get naming conventions. It's made our lives a lot easier and really saved the poor graduates that we've had manually tag properties retrospectively. We've also found where the most optimal integration point is. So in the early days, when we used to dim lights on our platform, it could take up to 30 seconds to get a response. Obviously, the client just looked at you perplexed and was like, this doesn't work. And so working with the manufacturers, and I suppose that's one of the key things, working with manufacturers, I think we've done up to about 200 integrations now, and it's constant feedback, and also where other people start to integrate, like Google, we've seen the improvements that have been made to a lot of the systems we now integrate. We also can take on any IoT sensor. So our clients always bring sensors to us, and we'll stress test those in our lab in London and come back with feedback. And then obviously we're lucky enough to roll that out across the deployment, really understand what sensors are best. And I think we're getting to a privileged point now where, as a company, we can advise whether you should buy a Daikin system, a Mitsubishi system, use a point grab sensor, because we have so many of these sensors deployed globally, we can really see which ones work and which ones don't. So it becomes a very valuable sort of consultancy service. And if you buy our software, we actually give you that consultancy for free. So supported data protocols. These are the core foundations of what we work with today. It's always changing. I'd say the thing we've noticed more recently is actually we've been using WebSockets for lifts, so we can see real time where the lift's coming down in the shaft to get rid of that anxiety that the lift's not been called. And also work with some legacy things like SOAP. We don't like it, but some of our retrospective buildings, we don't have the budget to replace the BMS, so we have to work with these uglier, older protocols. But again, we're not fussy about that, we just get on with it. It even means sometimes we have to do sort of bespoke database integrations, which can be quite painful. But we are big fans of BACnet. Obviously, a lot of our buildings in London will have BACnet, and we prefer MQTT for change of value reporting. We don't really like using BACnet to poll for updates. We also have our own API, and it's been quite interesting to see what clients have done with this API. A lot of them have integrated it into their Outlook, they've integrated it into their own visitor management systems, they've used it to get data out of the building to understand energy and performance. And so I think at present we have about 150 companies integrating with our API, which is amazing. So this is going to talk you through the UI of the Smart Spaces app. Now, one of the things about Smart Spaces is white label. So a lot of people don't know the real estate that we power. Sesame is our client, Great Portland Estates, and they got the name Sesame from Open Sesame. And we'll roll you through some of the functionality. So at the home page, we have the social wall, and that's very similar to what you'd have with a social platform where you get to see all the updates about your building. We have the visitor function. The visitor function was a great function to put into the platform because it had a lot of stickiness, and it meant that we'd have contact with everyone coming into the building and could improve the user experience. QR codes obviously had a lot of mentions today. With pre-COVID, obviously, there wasn't as much adoption here, and now post-COVID, everyone understands this user experience. But frustratingly, what we're finding is people are going to me, oh, what's next? Well, let's do something new. Let's use NFC instead of QR codes. My only reservation is we've just about got people to use QR codes. So now the train lines and airlines use them. I think we should stick with them for a little while for visitors, albeit we are doing a lot with NFC on the Apple platform. And Android. So this is our lighting control. So working with various different systems, we're using Bluetooth beacons to position you on the floor plate. That will give you your nearest luminaire. You can then control that luminaire and relay that to the other luminaires in the building. Energy feedback is obviously becoming more and more important. It's always been a part of our platform, but until we actually put financial data against it, it got largely ignored on our analytics. But now we're seeing landlords, it's the key information they want to showcase to their occupier. This is a neat feature we got from TfL where we can see how busy a tube station was, which was great during COVID. Our meeting room booking system, and we can put this shiny front end onto any legacy meeting room booking system. So some of our clients have come to us with really ugly booking systems, which we've then put a much nicer veneer and interface. We have our own desk booking. It's linked to our sensor data as well. So this means that we can manage the office effectively. And what we've found in buildings where we've rolled out desk booking, they're filled up quicker than buildings that haven't got desk booking, so much so that our clients are funding this on behalf of their occupiers, which is really interesting. The magazines is a great feature. We've done a deal with a publisher to get this content into the app, and it sort of saved us during lockdown because lots of people still use the app to access that content. So people-centric workplaces. We built the 22 Bishopsgate app, and the key there was to bridge the physical and digital user experience. So the app become your pass to get around the building. Property as a service. Now, all of our landlord clients now are looking to provide far more than just space. And this could be flex space, it could be meeting rooms, it could just be the community features of the 22 Bishopsgate app. But the basic thing about providing it through an app platform is that you can measure it and you can see how successful it is. Customer service and engagement. So one thing an app does as well is if you're a landlord, you typically only have a relationship with the office manager and the guy that signed the lease, the CEO, CFO. When you put an app into play, you then get closer to all your end users, and so you can really understand whether you're providing a relevant and good service. We also can link communities together. It works especially well on our business parks, and we see once we roll out the community feature, we get greater engagement across the amenities. The contactless access and visitor management, obviously it's a great hook, but my clients refer to it as the toothbrush effect. So, you know, if you have to use it twice a day, you've got that engagement as a foundation. We then see that trickle through into the other sections of the app. Room and desk management, so like I've covered already, this is key to returning to the office and also understanding a hybrid workplace. And of recent, we've actually upgraded this so we can do stacking. So this means that on a Friday, when the office is quiet, we can actually merge bookings onto floors that, so to really keep critical mass in a certain area of the building, and then we can switch the floors that are unoccupied off. And this is where we're starting to see big savings in energy. Smart controls and automation, I'll show you some of that in a second. And then the energy and monitoring and optimization. This will come through in the rest of the presentation. So this is me club-footed. So talking about the user experience earlier, we always want to improve on the existing user experience. So here we use Bluetooth beacons to open the turnstiles ahead of you approaching them. Someone said that I was probably doing that with having a button in my pocket, so I wished I'd taken my hands out of my pocket for that film, but hey-ho. And so one of the key aspects during lockdown was air quality. I mean, we did have air quality sensors pre-COVID, but their importance increased significantly, and our clients were keen to advertise to their occupier how healthy their spaces are. Now, the thing that's really fascinating is that on our central London estate of buildings, especially those in Oxford Street, we've found that the air quality at some times of the day is 20 times better inside than outside. And that's just with a basic air handling unit, no clever filters, no fancy technology, it's just a standard air handling unit. And I think that's a great advert for those that are working in flats or live in flats in central London. They're going to want to travel to the office to breathe cleaner air. Particulate matter is one that, you breathe these particles in and you can never get them out of your lungs. So it's so important. And so a lot of the work we've done recently is integrating these sensors onto our platform. And again, we're not precious about the sensor. You can bring your own sensor to us. We'll put that onto our platform, and we can measure for that, and you can understand its effectiveness. We've then moved this into our rules engine, which I'll show you shortly, where we can actually adjust the plant based on the readings we're getting. And this could be increasing or decreasing the fresh air. A lot of the time, there's a big energy savings in just using the sensor to switch off the air handling unit or turn the air handling unit's fan speed down during times when it's unoccupied. We've also found that the over-conditioning of the space, sometimes actually we're providing too much fresh air, especially post-COVID, where a lot of air handling units are running at 100%. One of the things we've done at 22 Bishopsgate, which has helped sort of increase the number of users on the platform, I think we're up to about 10,000 users, active weekly users on the 22 Bishopsgate app. The key to that is obviously the access, so everyone's using it to access the building. There's no plastic cards in circulation. But on top of that, we've actually allowed the occupiers to have their own branded app that sits on top of the 22 Bishopsgate app. It consumes all the services that the 22B app has, but also has their own internal services. So that could be their intranet, their own room booking. It's linked to their single sign-on, so Office 365. And what we found actually was quite funny with one particular client. We started to notice on our analytics that we were getting a lot of logins in Ireland. And they started to use the app that we developed for 22 Bishopsgate in another location. And they were trying to circumvent us billing them for it. But we had a conversation with them, and they said, no, actually, this is a really good app. We want to roll it out globally, which was great. So the key here is that we call it the Salesforce effect. Salesforce move into Heron Tower, and they want to call it the Salesforce Tower. The same with the digital experience. They don't want the invite to go out with 22 Bishopsgate branding. They want it to have the Beasley branding. They want to be in control of every touch point their employee has within their business. And it's been a fantastic feature of our platform. So one thing, the biggest benefit you get from merging all these systems onto a single platform is the data. We provide a lot of dashboards within our platform. Some clients use these in their weekly management meetings. Some clients largely ignore them and don't ever log into them. And so what we've done there is provide the automation, so our system's looking at the data rather than someone logging in to look at a dashboard and making changes. They're both incredibly valuable, but we've found the automation is where we're finding the savings because people don't have to think about it so much. And we provide this service on behalf of our clients. We'll look at their data and come up with some basic rules for their portfolio. Safety and security. One of the things, again, with COVID, people come back to the office and they're working a hybrid fashion. So many lost passes, and that's been a great opportunity for us to be able to onboard them onto our platform, get rid of the plastic cards, and then we start to get more data about how people are using the building. We also have lots of rules and alerts that we set on across the BMS, across the lighting control system, across the access control system, and this will generate in-app alerts. And so this can be used for cyber security alongside the monitoring of our own platform. Risk analysis. So the occupier downsize is quite interesting because some of our clients that have got this deployed across their whole portfolio have managed to move businesses within their own portfolio. So rather than them go off, most people who cancel a lease will not stick with the same landlord. But with the stickiness we've created with the app, we've managed to move them. And some of them are downsizing because of COVID, some are upscaling. And what's really nice is that when someone goes from one of our Smart Score Platinum buildings to say, a Smart Score Silver, we typically see that that the client puts an order in to make the upgrades to close the gap, because they want to give the same level of service to their occupier in another location. And then the real-time energy saving we'll show you in our demonstration. So our digital twin is the BIM model loaded into our platform. It's sometimes it's asset tagged, sometimes it's not. Obviously, we've done so many retrospective digital twins, we've actually had to go through and tag every single asset within the building. It's very painful. Our grads don't thank us for it, but we then do that, and then we look at the data points and create a common tag between them, and then our system will automatically, when you click on an asset, give you its real-time operating parameters and enable you to log the data surrounding that asset. You can then use the rules to effect control and change within the building. This has been quite expansive. We also bring the app analytics in here, so you can trend app usage versus when people come into the building. We also link it to the lifts, so with our interfaces into Coney, into Schindler, we can see with one lift is doing more journeys than another lift, and what the wait times are, and we can then feed that back into our app. And quite recently, we developed our app to be able to be a destination control interface. Now, anyone would think, well, why would you do that? Because you can just press the button on the outside of the lift. Well, destination control systems typically can cost up to £250,000 on a, say, a 10-story building. Now, on smaller buildings that are 5 stories, you probably wouldn't justify that destination control. So what we've done is we've built the destination control into the app, so you get that feature without spending a 250K outlay. We then link all the manuals and O&Ms to the assets within the building. So any document, any service ticket that we get created on our platform is linked back to the digital twin. So this is the Future Work scheme in Slough, famous for the office. And this was a Shepherd-Robson model, so we didn't create the model. The model was gifted to us by the architects. We then worked on some of the fit-out, so we put the lifts in there, we put the turnstiles in there. We linked it to our API with our asset tags, so then we had control of the lifts, we had control of the access control. We could use this from a tablet, so it can be used to manage the building. Typically, what we find is the receptionist within the building will have this open, and they'll use this to manage the building from their front desk. There's no longer having to be buried in the BMS office or the building engineer's office. With using the rules engine, we can link 2 disparate systems together. So here in this reception of 160 Old Street, we have a Lutron lighting system. It's got PIR sensors that are linked to our digital twin. When that PIR sees an area, someone walks into that area, it will enable and disable the HVAC. And the best thing about VRF systems is they can be switched on and off quite easily, and then we can just monitor the temperature for drift, and if the temperature comes out of range, we'll switch that unit back on. Straight away, we started to see huge savings. I think it was around 30% on this particular building. We also, during COVID, used sensors such as point grab to understand social distancing, and even built into our system a method to prevent queuing at the lifts by monitoring the turnstiles and only enabling access once the queues are cleared. Obviously, not so much a concern now, but it was a great use for our rules engine at the time we developed it. And this is our digital twin in action. So we talked earlier about Smart Score. And so this is the sort of evidence we have to submit to get a Smart Score Platinum. It's very easy to get Smart Score on a building that you're developing because it's a promise to do this at a later date. Delivering it in a building is quite a challenge. So thanks for letting me harp on for about 25 minutes. I'd like to go to some questions, if that's OK. If anyone's got any. Cool. Anyone got any questions?
You have to give them a second to warm up here, Dan. Questions regarding, I'm trying to see you folks out there. There you go, thank you. Questions for Dan, and again, it can be regarding his specific product, but here you have a gentleman who's had experience in conquering some of the basic problems in smart buildings, who can also share some of that experience along the way. Question up front, could I have a microphone, please? Please state your name and company, although you've done it before. Thank you.
Twice, no problem. My name is Silvia Llanes. I am the Innovation and Development Director of GMP Property Susimi, a property owning company in Spain. Thanks very much. Very inspiring again. Just a question, how long did it take to you to implement Sesame and the platform and the digital twin in the HIC? The name of the building is the Hickman.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so we've actually got lots of buildings with the digital twin, but the Hickman was the one that got the world's first Smart Score
the
Platinum.
Hickman is the first Smart Score Platinum,
That's
isn't
right.
it?
That's right.
We
yeah.
have just achieved the Smart Score Platinum and White Score Platinum for one of our buildings, an existing one.
Brilliant. I see that, actually, I see that.
It's not about promising, it's about real thing. But I was wondering how long did it take to you to implement all this technology and this smart technology into the Hickman since the very beginning till the end?
Well, I'd say the software platform itself is around 12 years, actually, but we've refactored and redeveloped a lot of that platform. One of the things with software as a service, which is great, is that a lot of our clients start out with one feature and then add the features once the system's been implemented. But 160 Old Street, I would say that probably took us, we started that in around 2016, and it took about a year, because it was retrospective, so it had already been developed. We got in at the end and managed to change some of the spec to meet our requirements. But yeah, largely that was just hard work retrospectively. So getting the APIs for the access control system, getting the APIs for the BMS, or managing the open protocols, doing all the asset tagging, linking it back to our system. And it does vary. Some buildings, it's a bit of a lottery. So in London, when we win a new instruction, we go and do a site survey, and sometimes it will have the perfect access control system that we have 20 examples of integrations. We have the perfect BMS, perfect lighting, and that means that we can get our software up and running in, say, 6 to 8 weeks. Sometimes it's got all the wrong systems and brilliant, yeah. So sometimes we have to get like the lighting control system upgraded or even removed. So in a recent project, it was about halfway through the build process, and we noticed the lighting control system could never be upgraded. You'd never be able to integrate with it. And so the client took the brave decision to ask the electrical contractor to take that equipment out and put a system in that was compatible. And I think that's the biggest value now, is making sure you buy things that are future-proof.
Question here?
Hi, Dan. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you for the presentation. I'm Sohaib Sheikh from Lansec. A quick one. So you mentioned about the digital twin, especially in an existing building, and how painful it is to develop that model. I completely concur with that. How do you keep the model then up to date? Because in a building, you have so many systems with so many changes happening all over the time in an operational environment. How do you then keep it up to date going forward?
Across different projects. So some projects will maintain the model. That's a cost for that, and that's for our Revit engineers to be able to add and delete devices, as you say. Some buildings we delegate it to the client, so the client will have a BIM team, a BIM coordinator that's instructed on the project, and they will provide the model to us on a regular basis. And the thing that's really nice of recent, 22 Bishopsgate is a great example. Every fit-out that happens, they have to submit the fit-out as a 3D BIM model. And so we can load that straight back into our platform. Some of the early tenants that didn't have that in their lease, we created the 3D model for their space just to bring it in line. So it's mixed. It is quite a lot of work. It depends how precious you are on every bit of equipment. We typically want to really know what's live in the building. So all the live assets that produce data and consume power will be on our system. If it's a chair, probably not. It's not. We do have some clients that put every asset into the model, but yeah, it's not every model will keep track of static assets.
Time for one last question. Any brave soul? Well, I think it's the end of the day, Dan. You did a great job in explaining a lot. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone. Cheers.